PD Beats here from Pop Turner, speaking to Alec Carlos about Elevator Game, which is streaming now on Shudder. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, man.
I mean, this is crazy. We're talking. I feel like we did like the pre-interview, right?
Yeah, I know, right? We went off.
Oh man, the interview. I mean, you're on Shudder. I mean, you film this movie in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, with your friends, and now you're on Shudder, like the horror movies playground for fans.
Absolutely,
right?
Mind-blowing, man.
I don't feel like it's gonna hit you for a while, right?
No, dude, it's been like a couple days. It still hasn't really hit, and like people have been sending me, like family and friends have been sending me that they're watching it. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, oh, that's cool.
And it's crazy because I feel like, horror movies are so, like, they've always been around, but there's been this surge of, like, popularity because I feel like there's just some incredible kind of content being written and there's new ways to scare people. What's it like kind of not only making a horror movie, man, but what's it like working on a horror movie at a time where there really is an appetite for that content?
Dude, it is a dream come true because I'll tell you what, when I first started, I guess just as a hobby, because I was a filmmaker first and a writer. And so one of the first genres I ever learned how to write or just taught myself how to write was horror. Yep. Because I loved it. Like as a kid, I loved it. The Grudge, terrifying. The Ring, terrifying. Like the original Ringu, it all like, it stuck to me. And I remember being a kid and being like, wow, I just watched this thing. I know it's not real, but why is it sticking with me like this? And I feel like the surge now, especially with what just came out, like, well, Elevator Game, Talk to Me as well is on fire right now.
Speak No Evil.
Speak No freaking evil. Yeah, amazing. And that was only last year too, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's so many hidden gems, I think, in the horror landscape that if everyone's out there being like, it's like, oh, there's not enough horror. I used to think that too. You just have to look.
I just sent Gino a list of like 38 movies.
Yeah, which is insane that you can already like pull 38 out of your hat.
And like about 15 to 20 of those are on Shudder. So you're in good company. I'm just saying.
I know, right? Which is crazy, dude. It's still crazy to me.
The curation of that company is actually insane. Like, I don't know how they do it. Like, every movie they put out is like, I watch, and they're all amazing. Like, I have a great time with all of them.
Well, that's the thing, man. It's like, it's specifically for horror. Yep. And that's like when you're going on Netflix or Prime or anything else, there's a specific, just handpicked amount. Mm-hmm. But when you're really wanting to dig deep into that genre and just really pick, like, especially Danish films, like we were talking about with Speak No Evil, or like international films, that type of horror in that specific culture, it's 10 times different than our culture.
100%.
And
well,
like,
you mentioned The Grudge. I've interviewed Takashi Shimizu, who directed dude. And
I gotta do this real quick in case I summon something.
And I said, literally the first thing I said, I'm like, thank you for all the nightmares. I really appreciate it. He's like,
I love that. Yeah.
He's like, no problem.
It just starts crawling at you.
Dude, it was so crazy. Okay, so obviously I want to talk about the horror kind of components of it, but here's the thing, man. Like, you played Chris in this movie, and there's some things I want to kind of talk to you about. I talked a little bit about it on Gino's interview because he plays Ryan, and I wanted your opinion on this because, yes, this is a movie that has all the traditional kind of components of a horror movie. It's got the gore, it's got the jump scares, absolutely. There's some incredible kind of tension. I think it's a testament to you as an actor, where we meet your character, Chris, and first off, he's like a jerk. He's conceited. He's just this jerk, right? He thinks he rules the internet. Like, he's got this vibe, right? Then we become kind of, as an audience, privy to some information from Gino's character, Ryan, about how your character is involved with his sister Becky's disappearance and the Elevator Game and everything. And there becomes a switch flipped where it's like, Chris is not a jerk. Like, he's a villain. Like, he's a bad guy. So what's that
POS,
like? Yeah. But like, what's that like from an acting perspective, man? Because I find that so interesting in terms of kind of seeing that shift on the script and then seeing that transform on screen. I'm just curious about that.
So yeah, when I first read the script and then I saw the switch, I was like, I know exactly what to build to now.
Maybe he was going to be a good dude at the end. Like, I was like, man, you never know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. There could be a twist. There could be a turn. But when I saw that, it was like, oh, yeah, this guy sucks. Like, this guy is terrible. From then on, my immediate, like, job as the actor now is, like, figuring out his arc, how that relies to the story arc, and then the audience arc. So I come from everything I look at comes in a wrestling lens because that's just how I was kind of.
Watched a lot of pro wrestling as a kid. Fan?
I have trained a little bit too, but yeah, it's like I'm a
huge pro wrestling fan too. Dude, what is happening? Oh my god. Rob Van Dam is a 3-time guest of Popternative.
Yeah, that's insane, baby. I didn't know that. Dude, you just made my day. RVD's my favorite.
No, we just had a Step Brothers moment live where we became like best friends. Like it just happened.
That's insane. Yo, we gotta talk more about that. Okay. But yeah, then you'd understand though. So for my landscape, how you structure a wrestling match, whether or not you're a face or a heel, right? You know, like especially when there's I consider this a double turn, like just a full on heel turn. Mm-hmm. And so building towards that, how am I going to make this audience already despise me so that when it gets to the point, that relief of, oh, thank God that guy just ate it, you know? That was my main job, I think. And to really make that as impactful as possible with all the resources that we have.
Yeah.
That was the biggest task. And honestly, it was so easy to like, once we were there in the room, it was much easier to get to that point. Because everyone around me, there was just so much play.
Yeah.
And the environment allowed for that to kind of just spew out and just be freely, okay, I'm going to go full heel. I'm going to go full heel. And so I just went vindictive as possible.
The wrestling comparison just blew my mind in the greatest way possible.
I hope it made sense though.
But dude, I remember I interviewed some pro wrestlers and they described wrestling as a violent 4th grade play.
Yes, but that's exactly what it is, man. It's creative physicality. And in this case, as an actor, like the physicality part is still there. You know what I mean? Everything from promos or whatever, that's why you build the story.
Okay.
Every promo, to me, in the story was every point that Chris was being obnoxious, was being a POS to everybody else.
Yep.
And then the ending, when it blows up, that's the blow-off match. That's our big pay-per-view match.
Yeah, 100%. And spoiler alerts for people that haven't seen it, okay? What I like that the movie did in the end is, I talked to Gino about this in our interview as well, there's no final girl or guy. Like, you're all gone. You know what I mean? And I think, like, it's one of those things where I know we were all kind of wrestling with different kind of endings and everything, like the crew and everything, but, like, it's one of those things where it was really well done with the 1x1 and everything. How? Yeah. There's a question here. When did you, like, when you read the script for the first time, like, did you get the script, the whole script at once in terms of, like, what was shot specifically, or was there a lot of changes in terms of the order of how people died?
So, yeah, actually, for the most part, from the moment that I got the script and I read it, it stayed pretty much in that order.
Okay, because maybe it would change. I'm always curious about that. That's just like I'm like a horror movie nerd, right? Like,
possible, right? Yeah. But yeah, no, it stayed pretty much true to what the script was, and they just kept true to it.
Absolutely. Is there an interesting kind of feeling now with making horror movies where you can kind of rely at some points on the jump scares and the traditional elements, but you really have to kind of, like you said, play because there's different ways to scare people. There's a psychological game. People are scary. Like, do you find there's pressure a little bit in the genre too? The fact that there's so many more kind of ways to scare people? Yeah. Like, I'm curious about that because you're a creative as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because in the same way, it's in the same vein as comedy, right? Yeah. It's subjective. What I find scary might not be scary to other people, and what I find funny might not be funny to other people. Yep. So it really depends on, like, you know, to me, if I'm writing whatever, what am I gonna about? Yeah. Like, what am I gonna do this for? And so if I can't do that, if I can't make myself feel that and be able to disassociate and be like, okay, yeah, that's a little effed up, you know, then I'm not gonna write it, type of thing. So it's all really just a matter of, what is it to you that is terrifying? And hopefully deep down, you know, a lot of people probably do find this terrifying as well. Yeah.
It's so crazy. And I'm curious to know what the mindset is with this movie, because I feel like there's a lot of interesting things. This is shot in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. You shot this with a lot of your friends. It was an independent movie that was low budget from what I hear. What's that early mindset of, like, everything's ready to go, you're going on set, like even before the Shudder days, even before the fact that you rap, like what is going through your mind? Because, like, I feel like that's going to be an interesting headspace because you're making a horror movie with your good friends in your hometown.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's because I live about 45 minutes out of Winnipeg.
Okay.
And so on my drive, every time I drove in, I'd be like in that space of like, all right, so this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. And then immediately it's kind of because we always kind of meet up and all of us, the basically it wasn't like a normal set where we had circus and all this stuff. We were in one building. And so our rooms were basically dressing rooms all near each other.
Okay.
So we'd always like group up and then go through the scenes together beforehand before jumping in. And so so that it helps so much getting like the characters down and the I guess the dynamics back and forth and just running that through so that when we did get on set, then we had that platform, that foundation, and that whenever Rebekah, who is an amazing director by the way, whenever she would like give us any notes or adjustments, then we already have that consensus, that base platform that we can jump off of and expand from there. Yeah.
That's such a good point. And how long was the shoot, would you say?
It was about it from the entire month of June, basically, in like last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so 1 month. Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah, I know. And it went by so fast.
Was it weird when you wrapped it? Because I feel like there's a lot kind of happening. I feel like depending on the scenes, there might be some scenes that feel scary filming them, some that maybe didn't because it's not going to look like that in the final edit, right? With everything.
Right.
But like, what did it feel like? Were you like exhausted? Were you pumped? Like, what was the wrap feeling like?
Yeah, dude. It was a bittersweet of, wow, we did it. I'm exhausted. But man, I wish I could do it all over again. That was like it was just not the relief, but the gratifying feeling of like, wow, we actually just went through that, all of us together as a team, as a unit. And that's the thing about this production; it was a very intimate.
Yep.
Everybody like talked to each other, and we all like. I look at this business as everybody's a working cog.
Yep.
We all have the same goal, and that's to make the best product that we can.
Yep.
And so everybody had that. And without one cog working, then the whole machine doesn't work.
Dude.
And it was just completely well oiled. We pushed through. There were obstacles, but that's with everything, right?
Yeah.
And by the end, it felt like we had gone through this like war, and we have this unwavering camaraderie that is like just solid now, you know?
Is it all storytelling to you, or what? Or when you work on this, or like Orphan First Kill, does it kind of like feel like you have to go in a different zone for horror? Like, I'm just curious about that. Or is it all storytelling for you, depending on what the genre is?
Yeah, it's all storytelling. For me, it's always just like, what does this story need? And from my character, how can I serve the script to the best possible way that this character, that I'm using this character as a vehicle, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's basically like, I like to think of it as the Master Chef mystery box. You don't know what you're going to get, but you open it and you have all these things, and you can go to the pantry, you can grab whatever to make this whatever you need it to be. But at the very end of it, that base of what they give you in that mystery box has to stay true to form.
And it's so interesting too, to add to that, because I like learned this really quickly too, which was really interesting when I wrapped my short film, is there's the film you write, the film you shoot, and the film you edit, right?
Yeah.
And it's like kind of, it just reminds me of like that mystery box a little bit, right? We're like,
yeah, 100%, dude. There's so many times, like, especially editing too. You look at all the footage and the amount of times I'm like, oh damn.
So I find it very interesting, man, because you're a very kind of talented guy. You do a lot of different things, and like, I feel like you also do music as well and everything. Was there a point? Because I'm kind of the same way. I do a lot of things, and I feel like it was a combination of it just happened, but I was telling myself, like, I have to. Like, to be in the creative space, like, I have to do everything. I have to learn everything. I have to do the stuff behind the camera. I have to do stuff, like, I have to do everything. Are you in the same boat with me a little bit?
See, in a way, yeah. It's like, I was so in that too, but it's always nice to have help. And that's the thing.
Yeah,
dude, it's always a team sport.
Dude, it's a team. I feel like sometimes 100%. That gets left in left in the shadows a little bit. I feel like people see like one or two people wrote a movie, and it's like that movie would not have been like made if it wasn't for like everyone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, literally. If it wasn't for the gaffers, if it wasn't for like set deck or anything, right?
Can we give a shout out to the Elevator Game crew? Let's give a shout out to the crew right now.
Honestly, shout out to everybody that worked on the film. Like, even like Stefan, Rebekah, Brad Crawford killed it. Everybody that was involved.
Out, everyone. Bring some names. Let's give
Ashley, freaking literally Sasha, our boom op, amazing. Everybody was just like very, what do you call it? That's what I love about Winnipeg. It's all very much a family, like community. It's community.
Oh, absolutely.
We see everybody is like, hey, we've worked with you before. Like, hey, what's up, man? Like, how is this? How are the kids? Like, it's all just.
Did you know all the actors? Like, did you know everyone? Did you know Madison, Liam, like Megan? Did you know everyone, or there's one person?
Yeah, so I was a good handful of them. I'm pretty good friends with, and Liam, we worked on Orphan together.
Yep.
And I know that like he was from Vancouver, and so when I saw his name, I'm like, wait a minute. Liam, that's insane, dude. I was so happy. I love Liam to bits, and I was like, no way. And that just shows it's like all of these people being brought together. I knew Maddie from Bring It On. I've known Gino from multiple you worked projects, and even before that, we were buddies.
Gino was also on Bring It On, right?
He was also in Bring It On.
Was
that
that's shot in Winnipeg?
Like, three of us knew. That's right. Yeah, okay, it's actually, dude. Crazy story is that
there's a lot of Vancouver actors on that too, though. Like Tara Scobie's on that.
Yeah. So even Toronto, Erica Previs. Yep. All in there.
And I interviewed Carrie Metters for that last year.
Oh, yeah? Did you?
Oh, yeah. It was a great interview. It was just like...
Dude, that's awesome.
She was just like, it's a slasher. It's good for the season. It's October. Watch it. I was like, yeah. Like,
that's so awesome. Dude, and that's crazy because that came out last year. Like, time flies.
And we're talking about Elevator Game on Shudder. And, and it's the timing of it is like everyone's going to watch them. And I just love that you and Gino are like huge horror movie fans. Like I love that.
Yes.
I love it so much. Like,
dude. And it's crazy too. Like, and like to preface on that, I don't think I've worked with anyone as much as Gino.
Yeah.
And that's very rare, especially
and in
like,
the movie, you guys
business, right?
hate each other. Like that showdown, it blows my mind that people are gonna watch that and like find out that you guys are like best friends in real life because you hated each other in that movie. That's some good
acting. Hey man, Shawn Michaels and Triple H had the best rivalry in 2002, and that's because they were best friends as well. That's I'm telling you.
Do you who's your favorite wrestler of all time? Do you know who it is?
All time? Dude, that's a tough. I'm like RVD because that's my childhood favorite.
I'm an Edge guy. Edge is my favorite.
You're an Edge guy?
Yeah.
I love that. Dude, and he just retired too.
Dude, I love wrestling so much. It's amazing.
I went to watch Forbidden Door in Toronto with some buddies, and I'm gonna be honest, those were two of the best matches I'd ever seen in my life.
So I'm gonna tell you something right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Before I always think about posting it, but it was so long ago. I have a pre-pandemic interview in character before the AEW days with MJF.
No way. So this is MLW MJF that you're talking to.
And he's like, and dude, it's so funny. And it's like, I'm doing my intro. I'm like, MJF, Maxwell J. Freeman, welcome to the show, man. And he's like, he's driving, like, so he's like on audio, and he's like, no, listen. He goes, you know what? I don't feel very welcome because that was possibly one of the worst introductions I've ever heard. And he just goes,
yes,
I haven't released it. I haven't. It's so old.
Bro, okay, well, if you have the video, you send that to me because I want to see that.
Matt Riddle's been on my show. Darby Allin's been on my show. Tyler Breeze has been on my show. I've interviewed Jeff Jarrett, Ken Shamrock, a lot of wrestling guys.
Amazing. Legends on legends, dude, man. That's awesome.
It's so great. And then I want to see if we're going to be 3 for 3 because you're a big pro wrestling fan. You're a big horror movie fan. I know you play like indie rock and you play in like an indie rock band and everything. Do you like heavy music?
Yeah. Even like growing up,
like
some
like
of the
heavy
first
metal?
Music. Like, some of the first music I've listened to was heavier music, heavy metal, new metal. That's because of wrestling.
Slipknot?
That's because a little bit Slipknot. Not too crazy. I was a big like new metal guy, more so.
Disturbed?
Like Linkin Park. Yeah, a little bit of Disturbed, not too crazy.
Linkin Park is best. Oh man. Okay, good. We're 3 for 3. Oh my god.
3 for 3.
So, Elevator Game streaming now on Shudder. They gotta watch it. It's a fun time, man. It's a great fun movie. Time. It's a fun horror movie, man. Like that's all we're gonna say, right? Like,
absolutely. Like, man, it's like literally one of those things. Sit back and just enjoy the ride.
Absolutely,
literally.
Alex. So great chatting with you, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Great chatting with you too, man. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for reaching out to all of us too, man. It means a lot to all of us.
Dude, we got to be excited about it. You guys made an amazing film. We got to get it out there. We have to get it out there. You know what I mean? And we're going to do that. Alec Carlos on Instagram, right?
At @ACBreeze_.
Okay, perfect. Well, this has been Pop Turn.
Yes, sir.
/Pop Turn for previous episodes. Alec Carlos plays Chris in Elevator Game, streaming now on Shudder. Till next time, it's Alec and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.